Hello, and welcome to today's Shorts Roundtable. I'm Bridget, and I am one of the Filmmaker Conversations production coordinators here at SIFF, and I'll be hosting today's talk. We want to take a moment here to offer special thanks to PNC for sponsoring our Filmmaker Conversations content throughout the festival. On today's roundtable, we'll be joined by filmmakers from some of the short films included in Shorts Program 9. With that in mind, allow me to welcome our guests to today's conversations. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are so happy to have you.
Hi, I'm Marion. My film is called Etana, and I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Urvashi. My film is called Unmothered, and I'm also calling from Los Angeles.
Hi, Sharissa Sandrin Satikun, director of Post Sentence, calling from Los Angeles as well.
Hi, my name is Lance Edmonds. I directed The Seeker, and I am calling in from Brooklyn.
Hello, my name is Ivan. My film is called Duty, and I'm calling from Moscow.
Hi, I'm Pablo. I'm calling from Spain, and I'm the writer and first assistant director of Polvotron 500.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking your time to come out today. We are very excited to have you. And we are going to start things off with the first thing we'd like to know is how each of you, how you got involved in this particular film and what kind of led you to this story. Marion, we'll start with you.
Sure. About 2 or 3 years ago, I came across an article about female child soldiers in South Sudan. And it was a story that really stuck with me. And I knew I had to make it into a film. I just didn't know when I was going to do it. And the opportunity arose in 2019, and I decided to make a short film about a female child soldier in South Sudan. And I really just went for it. And I'm South African, and the story was really close to me. And we hear about child soldiers all the time, but I realized that I'd never thought about female child soldiers. And it was really important for me to tell that kind of story, and especially about females in war in Africa. And I didn't want to make it specific to a country, but I did use South Sudan in a lot of my research. I went back to South Africa. I did a lot of research on that. I really wanted to be true to the story. And that was how everything came together.
So I guess the inspiration for Unmothered was my USC thesis film. The inspiration came from a lot of workshopping in classes and thinking about the tone that I really wanted to explore in a short film. And I wanted to try to do something comedic. And I think I was watching a lot of Succession at the time and was inspired by that as well. And wanted to see if a South Asian family could get the same sort of treatment.
Post Sentence came to me from an actor that I worked with on my first short film called Playing It Straight. And it was actually the first meeting that we met that she told me about this other short film that she had been trying to make for a while. And we just hit it off, and it's something that I read and loved and knew I wanted to do, but it literally took us 3 years to get it off the ground just because of everything going on. But, Post Sentence was a cool vehicle for her to just showcase her talent as an actor and songwriter. And she actually sings a song in the end. The piece was just very Black Mirror-y. We just loved the dystopian view of the criminal justice system. And yeah, it was something I was dying to sink my teeth into.
So my film, The Seeker, is a documentary. So I first came across the subject of my film, whose name is Kenneth Kopp, is an Amish man who lives in Maine, because I grew up in Maine and my family still lives there. And I actually came across an article about him that was written in the local newspaper that kind of detailed his story and what he went through as an Amish man, losing his religion and making his life over again as an environmentalist and as an Amish atheist. And I just thought that it was such a truthful, fascinating story. And I thought his point of view was just so interesting and unique that I really felt like I had to meet him. And one day when I was back in Maine visiting my family, I made a special arrangement to meet him at his workshop and spend the day with him and talk to him and get to know him a little bit. And after our conversation, I was just convinced that it would make a beautiful, interesting film. And took a little bit longer than that to convince him to trust me and the crew to work with him and to tell his story. But the following year, we were able to return and make something great.
Well, you know, the inspiration for my picture was a short film by Zack Snyder, the director of Justice League. His short film was called Snow Steam Iron. I've seen that picture and was pretty much impressed by it. So I wanted to kind of expand the story and, you know, to try an interpretation of it by myself. It's about law, justice, crime, and punishment. It's pretty much a dramatic issue. So that's it.
Okay, what inspired me to, because I'm the writer of this short movie, and it's the first time I wrote a script. Because you know, it's a strange thing, because I'm in the movie business because of my wife. I'm following her steps because in fact I am geologist. I started my career in a very different place. It was so strange to combine these two parts of my life. I was in the middle of a sort of a personal crisis of what to do with my life, to devote my life to the movies or follow my step as geologist. I feel very alone in this process. This is how the idea came. My principal font of inspiration is Blade Runner 2049, Futurama. Because my wife and I, we loved when we develop an idea to share with a lot of black humor. We love dark comedy. And I think all of this permeates to this idea. And also I think without being our main intention at the first time, many of our social worries about economics, about society, about topics like sexual slavery came out very naturally to the film in a way we can to denounce it, to put a finger on this topic and expose it in our view. I think it is.
All right, so to follow up on that first question, we're hoping that you might share with the audience one thing you think that the audience should know about the making of your film, or any interesting story behind the scenes. We all know something happens kind of crazy, so if you have any of those good stories, we would love to hear them. Marion, we'll start with you.
Well, I decided to make a film in the desert with animals and water and everything and kids and everything that you're not supposed to do, and I understand why. I would say the craziest takeaway I had from that, we filmed out in the Salton Sea, and we had a lot of kid extras, and they were having a grand old time out in the desert. And they were actually kind of just running as they wanted to out in the middle of the Salton Sea in their little uniforms and their props. You rarely have to hurt children sometimes. And we managed to bring a scorpion back with us, back to the stages unknowingly. It just kind of arrived with us while we were trying to film. And so I would say I understand why no kids and animals. Now, I would do it again, but I get it. I get it. A lot of kids running out in the Salton Sea desert it was a lot.
Wow, that sounds like a lot, but yeah, I'll keep mine brief. I think something interesting in my film is that the grandmother, who is like the badass doing handstands and doing things that grandmothers should not be doing at their age, is my actual grandmother.
Wow, I can't wait to see your movie now. My interest is totally piqued. for Post Sentence, we shot at an incredible location. I think the world is dystopian world of the criminal justice system, and kind of has a sort of sci-fi element to it. So for us, a location was huge, and we were able to shoot at Emerson College, which is a film school, and totally out of our budget, totally ungettable, we thought, but we were just like, you know what, let's just see if we can, let's just ask. And amazing things came from just asking. We were actually able to collaborate with their film students and made it a very enriching experience for their students to actually be a part of our film, which was very meaningful for us to, contribute to that experience where they could learn, and we needed the help. So we were able to just get this fantastic location and have a wonderful experience behind the scenes as a result.
Yeah, so making a documentary is difficult on its own, but we decided to do something extra challenging, which was to shoot it on 16mm film, which made things a lot harder. But at the same time, it was really meaningful for me to do so, because we were filming with someone who makes his furniture using actual horsepower by tying his horses to a treadmill that spins around, that turns a series of pulleys in his workshop. And he's very committed to doing things in a way that's environmentally friendly. And also, as an Amish man, he used all tools that weren't power tools and all these things. So I think shooting on film was sort of my way to try and bring in some of that handmade, handcrafted feeling into my own work and to the directing of the film, in a way to sort of match what he was all about, and also just to give it a much more kind of nostalgic feel and sort of almost lyrical feeling to it that I think kind of matched what his story was about in a really interesting way. So we shot the film over the course of a year. We went back in each season, and we would just bring a 16mm camera and about 4 of us on the crew, and made it in a really small, intimate way. But I think that sort of the handmade feeling of it really comes through, and was kind of appropriate to how we wanted to tell that story.
Well, I got an interesting story about which happened after the picture was done, but it is connected to this story. To make the picture duty, we had to create a crime scene, and the main character of the picture, he looks through photographs from that crime scene, and these were really they were pretty much realistic, lots of blood, dead body. And after the picture, the short picture was done, one of my friends stole the pack of those photographs, and he was throwing them in cafes, in bars, in restaurants, and he thought it was kind of a funny joke, and people were shocked because they didn't know that it was props from the movie set. They thought these were real pictures with dead bodies and guns and bullets and belts and etc. So funny.
So in our case, we made the shooting in a stage in a delicted and an old tuberculosis. Is that the name of this lung illness? Tuberculosis is correct. Hospital that only small places were devoted to a stage, and the rest of the area, the rest of the building, was very old, about of the 60s, of the 50s, total abandoned, and it was really scary. And in fact, this was like we had some kind of curse about the shooting, because we have a huge problem with the art, because the main place of the movie happens in a booth, in a kind of sexual booth. We have a huge problem with the art department. At the same time we were shooting, in the background we have all the team from catering to production to direction, the director itself, my wife, we're finishing the wall that you cannot see, and then we move to the wall, and then we can finish the other wall, and it was like a small puzzle doing that. So of course you cannot see that, but it was very crazy for us to do that.
Well, thank you all for sharing your stories. There sounds like there was a lot of fun on some sets, but also a lot of inspiration, and that's always wonderful to hear. And with that, that is all the time that we have for today. So thank you all so much for sharing, and we sincerely appreciate it on behalf of SIF, and allow me to thank you all so much for taking the time to join us for today's roundtable. And we have people from all over the world, so we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. In addition, we have to thank you, our audience, for joining us for today's Shorts Roundtable. We wouldn't be here without your ongoing support, and we love that we're here with you as you bring film home. We hope you'll consider supporting our challenge match again this year, presented by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, to support the future of our festival. Our goal is to reach $145,000 this year, and we are so grateful for any amount you're able to contribute, to make a donation, or to purchase tickets, or check out our full schedule of filmmaker conversations. Please visit clevelandfilm.org. With that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here again very soon. Again, thank you all so much for coming today. We really appreciated having you today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.